Hi, welcome to Colorful Creative Watercolors and Paint It Friday. And we are going to be painting the Bumblebee using Payne's Gray, Lemon Yellow, and Yellow Ochre. And I am using Canson Cold Press. I'm using half of a quarter sheet of a 9 by 12 watercolor paper. So we will get started here shortly. And so the first thing you're going to want to do is I'm using a number 2 round brush, and I'm taking just clean water, making a round circle, which will be the center of the bee. And then we will be taking our uh, Payne's Gray, and we'll just be dotting that there in that wet circle. And I love to do the wet on wet because it feathers out so very nicely. And you'll watch that feather out there. You see how I'm just dotting it in there? And I'll grab a little bit more of that Payne's Gray. Don't worry, we'll be doing another layer on this when this is dry. Just keep doing. I just like how it feathers out. It just kind of does give the effect of fur, even though we will be adding more fur. So now we want to clean our brush, and we want to do a little half circle, or yeah, like a half circle there, a small one, and that will be for his head. We'll just do the exact same process. Grab some more of that Payne's Gray and put that on there. Now, if you're not a member of our free Facebook group, Watercolor Tutorials and Inspiration, I encourage you to join. We do Sketch It Tuesday and Paint It Friday every other week. This week we didn't do a Sketch It Tuesday because our Bumblebee is freestyle this week. So now I'm going to create a little clean water wash for wet on wet, and I'm just making like a little rectangle or a triangle cone shape. And then we will drop some more of that Payne's Gray in there before we move on to the yellow. So I like to start with the blacks or the dark color first, which is our Payne's Gray. I choose that over black. I just like the color of the Payne's Gray better than I do a black, because we're only using the 3 colors today. So you can see how the shape of that is, like a triangle, little cone, however you want to call it. And now we're just going to let that dry almost till it's almost dry, because when we start to add our lemon yellow, that's our next color, when we start to add that, I do want it to have a little bit of wetness to it because I want a little bit of that to bleed into the yellow. But when I first start, I want to stay away from the black when I first go through there. As you can see, I'm kind of avoiding that black until I get that whole area filled. And then I will go in and pull some of that black down. It'll actually bleed itself down. You can see some of it is already bleeding down, and that's perfectly fine, because we don't want it to be completely lemon yellow. Plus, we're going to add some yellow ochre, but some of that Payne's Gray just gives it a nice little effect when it bleeds down. All right. So I'm just trying to pull a little bit of that up there. Now I'm going to grab some of the yellow ochre. I'm just going to dot that in. As you can see, most of my painting here is all just like dotting everything in, little dots and dashes. So I'm just going to spread that yellow ochre around. And one thing I want to mention is, now I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom part here. But one thing I want to mention is something that I did not do on the camera was at the end when I was finished, I just thought that the yellow ochre was a little too strong, so I took a clean, damp, I mean, not even really, just almost dry brush. I, really wiped it on my paper towel, and then I smoothed some of that yellow ochre out a little bit, and you'll see that in the final picture. I also did the same thing for the center black of the bee. You'll see we'll fill it in a little darker, and it was it was perfectly, it was almost black, and I wanted a little bit of shine in there as well, and I did the same thing. I just lifted a little bit of that paint up. Anyway, so now we're, putting that yellow ochre down there because we want to give it more than just that lemon yellow look. So as you can see, and I'm trying to make a little bit of the fur coming out, or the hairs. I don't know, do bees have fur or hair? I think it's probably hair. So I'm just messing with that yellow ochre. When you do this, you might not want to add as much yellow ochre that I did, but and that's totally up to you and how you want the outcome to be. So I'm still putting some of that on there. And I'm trying to get some fur, that hair coming out there a little bit. All right, so now we're back to the black, and I'm sorry, the Payne's gray. And now I'm going to create this little hairs coming out. I'm just doing thin little lines coming out, just thin little lines. And I'm going to fill in that black. Then I'm going to pull some of that black down to make it look like either the yellow hair is coming up or some of the black hair is going down. I'm going to do the same thing for the center of the bee. And you want to kind of follow the curve of the circle there, or the curve of the bee. And see how I'm pulling some of that paint up there? There we go. And then we'll fill in that whole black center there. And that's where I said at the end it got a little too dark for me, a little too black with the Payne's gray. So I did lift some of that paint off just to give a little bit of a shine. So I'm just filling that in. And then I'm going to go down and do the same thing. Pull some of that black down into that yellow, just to make it look like either the yellow fur is coming up or hair, or the black is going down. So I'm going to grab some more Payne's gray and then do the bottom part of the bee the exact same thing. We're going to create those little hairs coming out, and like I said, you want to follow the curve of whatever, whatever the shape is you're using. So I want those hairs to come down and not straight out. And they don't have to be long, just enough to give it the look that there's that texture of that hair there. And I'm going to fill in the rest of that black, and then I'll go up again into the yellow. And you don't want to go up too far because you want to keep that, a nice bit of that yellow in there. So I'm just filling in that black. So I hope you paint along with me and create this little bumblebee. And I put his little stinger down there just for fun. And I'm trying to curve that circle, that roundness there. It was getting to be a little too straight line for me. So now I'm going to make his antenna coming out. If you're not comfortable using your paintbrush, as you can see, I'm using the straight vertical hold. But if you're not comfortable using the paintbrush, you can always use a black micron pen. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Payne's gray and add so much water to it to where it almost looks like you're just putting water on it. But I just want to have a hint of that it's there. We don't want it to be too dark. It almost looks like just a wet water wash, but there's just a hint of the Payne's gray in. But then I will grab just a little bit of Payne's gray, and I will put that on the wing, just for some texture and just for some effect. But we don't want to overdo. If you do too much, then it will just be a big gray wing. So you want to leave some of the white space in there. So now I'm grabbing the Payne's gray. I'm more concentrated because I want to make his legs or her legs. I did look up. I was pretty sure a bee had 6 legs, but I wasn't sure. I had to look it up just so I was correct. So there's 4 there, and then we'll put 2 more underneath the wings. Just some little ones up there. And I like putting little dots at the end. That's just me, and I like to put little dots at their joints. So there it is. You can see where I did lift off some of that paint and where I did smooth out some of that yellow ochre. So I just wanted you to be able to see that. But thanks for watching, and thanks for painting with me. And don't forget colorfulcreativewatercolors.com. And remember, stay colorful, stay creative, and have fun. All right, bye-bye.